War stretcher bearers. Have you ever seen pictures of that? You can look them up in black and white. I wish I could show you a picture of them right now, but for some reason, this lady wants to tell us something, I guess. These stretcher bearers, do you know how it looks when they're carrying someone in the battlefield? And stressed, is it risky for them? Because there are 4 guys carrying this man into the battlefield, through the battlefield, sorry. They're trying to get him to safety because he has been injured or shot or wounded or almost dying. So they're trying to get him to safety. Now, in order to do that, what must they do? Risk their life. It's not fun. It's stressful. It's painful. But they're doing it for what? Why are they doing this? Pardon? Love. Love for this friend of theirs that they don't want to truly think of Christ as our source of holiness. We shall refrain from anything wicked or impure in thought or act, and thus show ourselves to be worthy bearers of His name. Being a Christian means bearing the name of Christ. I have, because I've mentioned him before. Who is he? He was a German priest or pastor, and he died in a Nazi concentration camp, defending Christianity and so on. He once says, Christians become the bearers of burdens. Bear one another's burdens, and in this way you fulfill the law of Christ, as quoting St. Paul. Just as Christ bears our burdens, so also are we to bear the burdens of our brothers and sisters. Discipleship is commitment to the suffering of Christ. It's a commitment. So remind yourself of that image I wish I could show you. You can look it up later. Stretcher bearers. These soldiers in the middle of a battlefield carrying a brother. He's bleeding. He's dying. It's dangerous for them and him. It's stressful. Remind yourself, if you're carrying a burden, expect it to be like that. It's not going to be just carrying a feather. And do it with love. Say, Lord, grant me to do this with love, that I may not labor in vain. St. John Chrysostom says, if there were no tribulations, there would be no rest. If there was no winter, there would be no summer. So you say, so why all this tribulation? Because that's how you gain the sweetness of Christ. Just as how He gained our salvation. As he says, St. Paul, for the joy that was set before Him, He carried the cross, endured the pain and the shame. Because He saw the joy in front of Him. That's why there has to be that. It can't be something just simple. There has to be that bearing of something. That's why a Christ bearer or a cross bearer or an image bearer, imaging of the Christ, a light bearer becomes a crown bearer at the end. So while you're on this earth, you're called to be a Christ bearer, Christophoros. You know St. Christopher? What is St. Christopher's picture? Carrying baby Jesus on his shoulders. Christophoros, Christopher, that's what it means. Christopher means bearer of Christ. He bore Christ. So a bearer of Christ through baptism is a burden bearer, cross bearer. All for the joy set before us. And the image of Christ gets clearer and clearer for everyone around us to see. And then His light shines to those who need to see it. And then finally, we are crowned in heaven for it. It's working now? Wonderful. Let's see. Looking for Apple TV. I don't think it's ready yet. It's thinking about it. So St. Paul reminds us to conclude, let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. So don't grow weary. If the burdens are getting heavier, this is a good sign. It's a good sign. If the burdens are getting heavier, it's a good sign. Say, how is that a good sign? It's a sign that you are following in the